Breaking news! Hollywood's secret movie mantra for 2019 exposed.
If it has a penis, it's bad. If it has a vagina, it's good. Penis bad, vagina good. Penis bad, vagina good. Hey, welcome to another episode of The Review Lounge. I'm Jay.
I'm Jen.
And this week we're revisiting a subject we've actually already done an episode about, but that was several weeks ago. And so much has happened since then that it warranted another episode.
We are rewoking.
Yes, because it is all the buzz. And that buzz being the Hollywood woke train and how it has gone off the frickin' rails at this point.
Totally.
And it has gone off the frickin' rails at this point. So yeah, I mean, let's just cut to the chase and get right down to it. By the way, you'll notice that there will be a lot of the bleep in this episode because this is one of them subjects that lights a fire under my nutsack. And yeah, it really does. It lights a fire under my nutsack. So, you know, my filter is
Out the window.
out the window. Yep. So I mean, let's do a little recap. I think, from my perspective, this all started with the backlash the initial beginnings of it seem to have been in the 2016 remake of Ghostbusters, the all-women remake of Ghostbusters. There was a fierce fan backlash to that.
Oh, yeah.
And rightfully so, because, you know, after people saw the movie and stuff like that, they realized, yeah, this is a crap movie. Like, there's nothing here.
Leave well enough alone.
Right, exactly. But it sort of set the stage. You had the fandom versus Hollywood sort of setup, you know. But everybody kind of sort of jumped in the ring, but nobody wanted to throw the first punch. Fast forward that to The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi. Where you had fans being very vocal, as fans will do, about not liking the film, not liking certain characters, and so on and so forth. And there was a whole back and forth. And that's when, at least from what I could see in the research that I did, Hollywood sort of took the stance of, you know, go fuck yourself to the fans, which was a new take, you know, at least in modern times, of, you know, Hollywood coming out and saying, we are going to change this franchise that you have grown up with, that you've loved, and so on and so forth. And if you don't like it, the problem is with you, not with what we've changed. And that's where you started to see the turn come, where Hollywood's reaction was to go on the offensive. It was whatever criticism fans leveled at The Last Jedi, whether it was the way Rian Johnson subverted expectations just for the fucking sake of subverting expectations. Not for anything related to the story, but just simply because he wanted to do that. Whether it was complaints about that, or whether it was complaints about some of the nonsensical, irrelevant, you know, characters and how flat they were written and poorly written, like Rose Tico. You know, who, you know, is just a bad character, you know, or Rey, you know, in her storyline, you know, she's, you know, apparently better at the Force than any other character in that universe ever was. She needed no training. Anakin had to go through training under Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan had to go through training under Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon had to go through training under Yoda. Luke had to go through training under Ben Kenobi and Yoda. You know, but Rey comes along and she can just do shit. And so it got under the fan's skin, and there was a backlash to it. Okay, so you know, that's bound to happen when you have a franchise as big as Star Wars. But the studio's response to that was, you guys just don't like women. And that's when I think you first saw this new...
Ray syndrome, I think they called it?
Well, I call it the Ray effect.
The Ray effect.
I call it the Ray effect. It's where you first saw the Ray effect come into play, where Hollywood turned around. And when I say Hollywood, not only do I mean the studios and people related to the production, but also the access media. And when I say the access media, I'm talking about, Variety magazine, Entertainment Tonight, TMZ, and all these outlets that they rely on their access to Hollywood for their living. Started sort of flipping the script on the fans and saying that, well, you guys may be saying that you don't like Ray because she's a poorly written character, but in reality, we all know you're just being sexist and you don't want to see a strong female lead. And that's when the narrative sort of started. And then we've just kind of seen it snowball ever since. I mean, I think it came to, well, I could be wrong, but it reached its peak, its recent peak with Captain Marvel.
Which we did our first episode.
Right, which we did our first episode on. Which, Captain Marvel, the way the character was portrayed, it was literally, they were basically saying, hey, F you to all the fans. Like, and when the fans responded in kind, all holy hell broke loose. I mean, Rotten Tomatoes changed their entire way of doing things, and then to this day still tries to frame it as, oh, well, Rotten Tomatoes changed their way they aggregate reviews because, these evil, misogynist, sexist, man boys, had this campaign to try and, put bad reviews for the movie, even though it hadn't come out yet and they hadn't seen it. That is not what happened. What happened was Rotten Tomatoes used to have on their site where they would ask a question. And the question was, are you looking forward to seeing this movie? Mm-hmm. And that got inundated with a lot of nope. No, I'm not. This is, it's too message driven. It's too heavy handed with the toxic femininity, as I call it. And because it got swamped with so many, no, I'm really not interested in seeing this movie, what they did was they changed their algorithm. So they got rid of that completely. And now you can only leave a review of a movie if you are a verified viewer of the movie, meaning they have to be able to somehow prove that you've seen the movie before you can give a review of it.
How do they do that? How do they go about that?
Well, Rotten Tomatoes is owned by the same company that owns Fandango. So if you bought your tickets through Fandango, they can check.
So the only way you can leave your comment is if you purchase your tickets online? Pretty much. Because I don't know how they would do that through Netflix. I'm sure they'll find a way to, Netflix will send them your data, on whether or not you've seen a movie. But that's how it was changed. But of course, to this day, they still frame it as like, no, the fans had this, coordinated effort to leave bad reviews. And it was like, no, they weren't leaving bad reviews. They were just saying they're not looking forward to seeing the movie. Yeah. Rotten Tomatoes completely changed the way they do things in order to protect Captain Marvel, Brie Larson, so on and so forth. YouTube changed their algorithm because so many people were creating YouTube videos on Brie Larson and pardon my French, but it gets under my skin here, what a shitty person, she was being with her whole, I don't care what 40-year-old white men think and so on and so forth. You were.
And so people were creating a lot of videos, criticizing her, criticizing the movie, criticizing the whole, woman power thing. So YouTube changed their algorithm in how they recommend videos. Because right now, if you were to go to YouTube and you type in Brie Larson, you only get, quote unquote, accepted sources will be the first thing that comes up, i.e. Entertainment Weekly, TMZ, ABC, NBC. You're not going to get the hundreds, literally hundreds, if not thousands, of videos of people saying, what the fuck? Yeah. You know what I mean? So they changed their algorithm too. And so we're at a point now where, I don't know, it's shocking to me to see, having been a sci-fi fantasy action film fan ever since I was a little kid, and we're talking about going back to the 1970s. Okay, this is the first time I've ever seen where Hollywood's turned around and said, "We are going to take everything you love. We are going to change it to fit our political agenda. Not just like we're going to change it because we're going to make it a new story or whatever, but we're literally going to inject our politics into this. And if you dare criticize us, then that just proves that you are a misogynist, a sexist, a racist, alt-right, whatever." I mean, even when fans turn around and say, "Hey, you have Brie Larson playing Captain Marvel with their super heavy-handed, in-your-face, anti-male message," or you have Alita, which is just a good movie based on a manga, also has a strong female leading character. We'd rather go see Alita. They get attacked. The people who would prefer to see Alita, they get attacked as being alt-right and so on and so forth, because they didn't hop on the Captain Marvel train. And it's just like, it just boggles my mind. It like I said earlier, it just, it tickles my taint. It tickles my taint, and not in a good way. Not in the fun times, happy days sort of way, but in a very bad sort of, like when you get a hair caught in your underwear, you probably wouldn't notice. But the guys out there watching know what I'm talking about. You pull your underwear, and something pulls a little hair there, and you're like, "Shit, son of a bitch," In that sort of way, it tickles my taint.
Okay.
Thoughts as a woman?
I'm not quite familiar with that kind of pain that you're speaking of. However, I'm sure I could find a female alternative.
Yes.
To that.
Yes.
But I completely agree with everything that you've said. I mean, even as a woman, the whole, and I've mentioned this in the episode that we spoke previously about this whole thing. The simple fact that I'm a woman, I want nothing to do with this feminist agenda whatsoever.
Well, see, according to them now, and according to the Access Media,
So what does that make me?
That makes you a oppressed woman who has internalized your oppression, sort of like a Stockholm syndrome, You're siding with your oppressor because you don't necessarily see the same problem that they do. So, snap out of it. That, according to them. The rest of us, the normal folk, would just be like, "All right, she's just your average female. She sees this crap for what it is." But
I am just as annoyed as many of the men folk out there. I mean, and I'm sure there's women that feel the same way I do. But I for the life of me, I just can't understand what they hope to accomplish other than completely alienating every fan.
Well,
and do you know what I mean?
Yes. Well, I mean,
I don't.
I've detected a pattern in my research.
Oh.
Yes, and what I've seen is that, and right now the comic book industry seems to be the ones that have, like, the dust is settling on that. But what seems to be the modus operandi, if you will, is that you have these, and I hate to use like catch terms, but you have these SJWs.
Right.
They come in and they say, "Oh, look, this is fandom," and it's like there's a whole community built around this, whatever it is, be it video game, comic, movie, and stuff like that. And they come in and then they go, "Well, we don't like that, we don't like that, we don't like that, and we don't like that. So we're going to get rid of it, and we're going to change it because we don't like it." Forget the fact that all you thousands of fans, both men, women, black, white, straight, gay, whatever, have been okay with this. We're just going to change it now because, we don't think it's okay. And, if you start criticizing us for coming in and changing it, well, then that just makes you an asshole. A misogynistic, sexist, racist asshole. And so then they do it, and then it flops, and then they go on attack mode and go after the quote-unquote internet trolls and YouTube trolls, with their coordinated efforts. It's not coordinated. Like, I don't know any coordinated effort to criticize a movie. I don't think people have time for nonsense like that. It's just that a lot of people tend to agree that the changes you're making are stupid. You know, and the other thing now is that, you know, we're seeing Gen 2 of this, Generation 2 of this now, because, you know, you had, you know, the Ghostbusters
Part 1.
2016, you had the Rey effect with the Last Jedi, and then you had the Captain Marvel debacle. But now we're getting more of it, because now Hollywood seems to have latched on to this pattern, if you will, this sort of way that they assume it's going to play out. So now you have the CW coming out with Batwoman.
Oh, which we touched on last time too.
Right,
Yeah.
but there's actually been more news on that front.
I know.
You have the CW coming out with Batwoman, where they literally, their trailer is, if it has a penis, it's bad. If it has a vagina, it's good. And that's their selling point now. The selling point, it's no longer like, hey, we've made these changes. Oh crap, the fans are reacting. Call them all assholes and, you know, sexist.
We're done with it.
Right.
Yeah.
No, now it's like, hey, we're actually changing this because we just don't like men and feel that this should be a woman power show. And if you men get upset about this, you're sexist and misogynistic. You know, that's like telling somebody, hey, you're a moron, but if you get upset that I'm calling you a moron, that just shows what a moron you are. That's literally their take. And it's mind-boggling, like the hypocrisy involved in it. Speaking of hypocrisy, you know, do you remember back with the Oscars, and there was the popular hashtag was Oscars so white?
Yes.
Because they, you know, felt all the whitewashing going on in Hollywood, you know, where you had white actors that were playing, you know, historically, you know, people of color
Black
and
actors
stuff.
not winning anything.
Right. And you know, they made a big stink about, you know, like Tom Cruise in The Last Samurai and stuff like that, or Scarlett Johansson in Ghost in the Shell, you know, where you had, like, in Ghost in the Shell, the character was Asian in the anime and the manga, but Scarlett Johansson, you know, white woman, blonde hair, playing this character. And they said, oh, that's so wrong. That's, you know, this is a person of color and you're just whitewashing it, you know, you're just... But now, Hollywood Disney's making a live-action Little Mermaid. Little Mermaid being a white-skinned, blue-eyed, red-haired girl. And Disney announces, well, we're getting this African-American girl, Halle Bailey, I believe is her name? Or Halle Bailey. Halle Bailey, that's her name. She's a singer, but apparently also an actress, who's African-American, to play Ariel. So apparently that whole thing of, well, if the character is traditionally one ethnicity, you should have someone of the same ethnicity play them. Apparently that only counts if the actor that's purported to be playing them is white. Because apparently if the character's ethnicity was Caucasian and you want to get an African-American actress to play her, that's okay. That's progress. But the other way around, not so much. And I'm just like, am I the only one picking up the hypocrisy here? I mean, that's, like, I don't understand it. Now, I don't know Halle Bailey from A Hole in the Wall. You know, she could be the best actress on the planet. I don't know. I don't know her music. I don't know anything about the girl. But I do know that Ariel ain't black.
That's right.
But apparently, the simple fact that we're discussing this now and going to post this video, somebody will inevitably think, oh my God, look at that racism on display right there. And it's like, no,
Y'all are stupid.
It's like, it's not racism. It's I'm holding to the standards that they put out. That if this character was written as an Asian character, you should have an Asian actor or actress play them. This character was written as a Latino character, you should have a Latino actress or actress play them. Well, apparently if this character was written as a white character, well, then it's perfectly okay. We can get somebody who's not white. And I'm like, you know, but then they go into attack mode if you criticize them on that. Another show of complete and utter hypocrisy and just showing
The new James Bond.
the new James Bond. Well, no. See, this is their out. It's not the new James Bond. It's just the new 007.
Whatever. It's the same bullshit.
Yes. James Bond will be played by a black actress.
I don't.
Her first name's Lashana.
Lashana.
Something. I forget her last name because again, I don't know her from a hole in the ground. And apparently, her only other role prior to this was playing Brie Larson's sidekick in a few Air Force scenes.
She was like a co-pilot or something.
Yeah. What was her name? Maria?
I don't even know. I haven't seen the movie.
Something. Yeah, I didn't see the movie either. But she's going to be the new 007. And they're already selling it as, well, this is the 007 that's going to be good because we got rid of the white guy. Now, apparently Daniel Craig is still going to be in it. He's still going to be James Bond, but he's retired.
She's just taking his number.
Yes.
As the agent.
Apparently James retired, and she's the new 007, Agent 007 in MI6 or MI5.
But he's still going to be in the movie and making all kinds of moves on her because he thinks she's
well, in the articles that we've seen, and the viewers are probably going to see some of these articles because I'll put some of them in there as we're talking. In the articles that I've seen, basically the selling point based on this is James Bond has to start to learn to live in the Me Too era. That's their thing. But again, it goes back to what I said. They come in to a franchise, find what they don't like, and say, okay, instead of trying to
make it adaptable for everybody.
Yeah. We're just going to completely throw the baby out with the bathwater and redo it. And if you have a problem with that, the problem is with you, not with the fact of us coming to try and destroy a 30-year franchise.
Yeah.
So
insane.
It is insane. But then, speaking of which, now you also have the fact that, and it's funny because they always say evil always turns on itself. And I'm not calling anybody evil, so please don't leave any comments saying, why did you call them evil? Okay, but I'm just using it as a metaphor. There's the saying that evil always turns in upon itself. Well, apparently, Ruby Rose, who's set to play the new Batwoman on the CW, Kate Kane. Well, for people who don't know,
this is a good
Kate Kane was originally written. She's a Jewish lesbian who's an heiress. This is the comic book version. A Jewish lesbian who is an heiress, who's inspired by Bruce Wayne in how he's using his millions to get all these gadgets to fight crime as Batman. And so she chooses to do the same thing. That's the comic book version. The CW version is Kate Kane, who I'm assuming is still a Jewish lesbian. We know the lesbian part, but they don't mention if on the show her character is still Jewish or not. But she's no longer inspired by Bruce Wayne and his, vigilante crusade to rid Gotham of crime. Literally, Batman has just up and split. He's just not. I guess he's on vacation. I guess he
retired and didn't tell anybody.
Found a better job. He had to relocate for work. I don't know what it is, but he's just gone. So she is apparently a cousin of Bruce Wayne. Although they don't mention it, first cousin, second cousin, third cousin, 18th cousin removed twice over through marriage. They don't say. But apparently she's just a cousin. And she literally goes in and takes all his stuff. She's allowed to just walk into Wayne Manor and she takes all Batman's stuff and adapts it to her. So, and like with James Bond, what you're seeing now is they're taking franchises and literally writing out
anything to do with males.
Well, anything to do with males, anything to do with previous things that people liked about the franchise in order to make way for this new take. But Ruby Rose, who identifies as a gender fluid person, in real life, the actress, apparently she got chased off Twitter by SJWs.
Why?
Why? Well, because their argument is, and again, this touches back on what I mentioned before, their argument is Kate Kane in the comics is supposed to be a Jewish lesbian. You are not Jewish. You don't identify as a lesbian, even though she identifies as gender fluid. You don't identify, so therefore, you should not be playing this character. So this is where it goes back to what I said about evil turning in upon itself. So apparently, chucking Batman to have Batwoman, and because you don't want, you can't have a white male saving the world anymore. Apparently that's not good enough. Apparently, even if you are a gender fluid woman playing a Jewish lesbian character, that's a no-no. You can only have a Jewish lesbian actress play a Jewish lesbian character, according to the new SJW standards. Okay, which again brings me back to, well, then why the hell is everyone celebrating Ariel being black all of a sudden?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. On the one hand, you're like, no, if the character is this, you can only have this type of person play this type of character. Yet, if the character is Caucasian, you can pretty much get anybody to play him. And I'm just like, am I the only one seeing this? Like, what the hell? So there's that. And
My favorite,
your favorite?
ScarJo story.
Oh, the ScarJo story. Okay, well, while all of this is going on, Scarlett Johansson, ScarJo, obviously famous A-list actress, and so on and so forth. Well, she has a production company, and her production company was working on producing a movie called...
Which she wrote.
Which she co-wrote,
Yeah.
and they were co-producing with another studio.
Yeah.
It was called Rub and Tug, and it was about, I think the person's name was Dante Tex Gill, who in the 1970s was this trans person who basically became the kingpin of the underworld in Philadelphia in the 1970s through selling anabolic steroids and using hotels and stuff as fronts for, prostitution,
Right.
and so on and so forth. Well, apparently, when it was announced that Scarlett Johansson, i.e. the co-writer, i.e. the co-producer of said movie, was going to be playing a trans person, the trans community got all in a huff. To the point where Scarlett backed out of doing it. She said, okay, I'm not going to play this character. Because their thing was,
If you're not trans,
you can't play a trans character.
person.
Right. So then, a couple of days ago, Scarlett Johansson, in an interview with one of the news outlets, she brings up her frustration about this and says how political correctness, while she understands it's necessary sometimes,
Right.
especially in her industry, sometimes it goes too far. And, as an actor or actress, your job is to play and portray something that you are not.
Right.
That is your job, because nobody wants to see Scarlett Johansson be Scarlett Johansson.
Right.
They want to see Scarlett Johansson be Black Widow. They
Right.
want to, whatever the role may be. Well, apparently she now caught flack for that and had to dial her statement on that back and not so much apologize, but sort of clarify and reaffirm her support for the trans community and stuff like that. So that's the deal with the Scarlett Johansson thing. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say. The woke train it's just flying down the tracks. And it doesn't look like it's completely bypassing the stations of sanity and common sense. And it's just going right to retardville.
I think bottom line is, in order for this to I would love to say that it's going to go away totally. I don't think it ever will go away totally. Now that the tick is in,
right,
it's going to be hard to dig it out.
Yeah.
But I think if the fans care as much as I think they do, continue getting your voice out there, continue fighting for your fandom because you have every right to. Let them know how you feel, get your voice heard, and do what we're doing. Make your own
videos.
10-minute video and voice your frustrations about it.
Put out your own message, you know. You know, it's your fandom. It's your fandom, and
fight for it.
Yeah, and it's up to you. And sometimes you're forced to make those tough decisions. A Star Wars fan my whole life. Saw every single movie in the theaters, going back to 1977. Right. I can remember seeing the commercials on TV for the original Star Wars. 1977, I've seen every one in the theaters since then, except for The Last Jedi and Solo. And why? It was because after Kathleen Kennedy and the folks over at Disney started putting out The Force is female, and that pretty much we don't need your manness, you know, in our fandom. They lost me, you know. The
Terminator movies.
The Terminator movie. Well, after the second one, they were all crap anyway.
I like Genesis.
Okay.
I have to say, out of all the other ones after Terminator 2, I think I like Genesis the most, only because it has my two favorite players. But I mean, it's got its own little storyline in there, and I know they tell you to ignore it, but
yeah, no,
it was still good.
Like I said, it's the fans, it's your fandom. I mean, and that's ultimately what it's going to come down to, you know, because otherwise Hollywood will keep doing this. You know, Terminator.
Don't fix it if it ain't broke.
You know, Tim Miller. That's actually now a marketing ploy. It's a marketing ploy saying, "Hey, look, this movie's going to piss off this segment of the fans, you know, and if you don't like it, too freaking bad, because you're obviously one of this segment that we really don't want, but you know, you're kind of there." That's literally part of the marketing now with some of these things, and I just don't understand it.
It's sad.
Like, I've never seen, you know...
You can't even just enjoy a movie anymore.
And it's like Hollywood's working off a hit list. You know, it's like first, you know, they took Star Wars and completely screwed that up. You know, now they've got Terminator in their sights, they've got James Bond in their sights. You know, it's like, well, what's next? You know?
Leave well enough alone. Just leave it alone.
Come up with new stuff. You know, like I said, I like female lead characters, strong, independent.
Is it the fact that do you think
characters?
that maybe it's because they have the people, the writers, and whatnot are so not uneducated, but just
they lack creativity.
They lack complete creativity and just make everyone else suffer for it.
I think that plays a part of it because, like I said, you're not seeing Hollywood awash in new material. Even if it is agenda driven, you're not seeing that. You're seeing Hollywood say, all right, well, we can't come up with any real good ideas.
You're regurgitating.
So let's take this franchise, but let's, like, quote unquote, modernize it by completely changing it. And we'll let the fans know that, hey, we've taken this franchise you loved and we're getting rid of everything you love about it.
And if you don't like it.
And if you don't like it, the problem's with you.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that it's because of a lack of creativity, and I think it's because the people running the show now are more concerned about driving an agenda than they are about entertaining, which ultimately is what all of this, be it comics, video games, movies, was supposed to be about. It was supposed to be your escape from reality. You know, when you go to work and you're commuting or you're dealing with people at the office, that's when all this annoying stuff would come into play, like, oh, well, did you hear that, you know, Bob's, you know, a racist, he made an off-color joke and got fired, or, well, Bob's an idiot. You know what I mean? And your movies and your video game and your comics were your way to get away from that. It was your way to go someplace that wasn't concerned about, you know, your gender or what you identified as or your ethnicity. It was a place where you could escape that.
Right.
And Hollywood seems to have forgotten that. And so now they're just like, you know, it's like they're hitting the check marks. Okay, we ruined Star Wars. Okay, we've jacked up the MCU. Okay, next on the chopping block
Is Disney.
Disney owns all of these at this point.
No, I mean like the animated, like the Little Mermaid.
Well, yes. Now we're going to start redoing some of these classic, Disney cartoons.
Yeah.
And we're going to put our agenda on them. Then we're going to destroy the franchise of Bond. Then we're going to destroy, the franchise of Terminator, and so on and so forth. I can't wait till they get the, non-binary, gender fluid dinosaurs in the remake of Jurassic Park. That's going to be awesome. That is going to be awesome.
Don't give them any ideas.
I know, right? 10 years from now, we'll be doing a video on that.
Don't give them any ideas. You just gave fruit to someone who's been killing for some new creative
There's some SJW right now who is watching us like with nothing but venom and hate, and he's like, "Oh my God, that is such a good idea!" Like, oh my God, the Velociraptors, they run around like this anyway. So, I mean, come on, we'll make them go and everyone will be happy. And Dr. Alan Grant, oh, he's such a cutie. But right now, that's what's going on.
That's
like
horrible.
Gay dinosaurs.
Oh, God,
who knew?
Stop. You're going to get flagged now.
Sorry.
Jeez.
I'm just saying. It wouldn't surprise me
What's wrong with you?
if 10 years from now we're watching a YouTube video and someone's complaining about the new Jurassic Park and how woke it became. When Blue turned to the main character and he was like, I ain't chasing nothing. All right, I'll stop. I told you, this gets this really twists my nuts in a bunch.
But you're going to get some nasty comments now.
That's okay. It's all right. I'm from the Bronx. I can handle nasty comments.
Okay.
If you want to give me a nasty comment, give me a nasty comment. Just make sure you spell it right, because I will call you out on that shit.
You will.
That's right. Well, don't call me, you're a misogynist.
Can you spell that?
Right. It's like, listen, if you want to curse me out, at least get the spelling correct, But whatever. My point being is that the Hollywood woke train is off the rails. It's getting more and more ridiculous as each week goes by. And part of it's turning on itself, Ruby Rose being chased off Twitter because, she's not a Jewish lesbian. She's a non-Jewish
gender fluid
actress, but that's not good enough apparently anymore. Scarlett Johansson, can't even speak about her frustration with political correctness without catching a shit ton of flack for it, because she's not transgender and she was going to play a transgender character in a movie that she was co-writing and co-producing. So, I mean, you know what? Hopefully, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe the SJW start to turn on themselves and eat each other from the inside out. I personally will sit back with popcorn and watch it.
Me too.
And I will be like, you know what?
We hope you can join us.
Yes, my only regret would be that we don't see the gender fluid dinosaurs in Jurassic Park, because that idea really, I think that's got some legs.
That's scary.
I'm gonna pitch that. Rawr, rawr. All right, enough. Anyway, that's it. We just had to do another take on the subject.
What is wrong with you?
I don't know. Like I said, it grinds my nuts.
I know. Enough with the nut grinding.
So we hope you enjoyed this episode. Give us a subscribe.
A like.
Give us a like. Drop a comment, good or bad. Give us your opinion. It's your fandom. We want to hear from you guys. You can find us on Twitter at review_lounge. And you can also email us directly at thereviewloungeshow@gmail.com.
And Facebook.
And we're also on the Book of Faces. And that one, we respond quick. So if you drop a comment there, we'll get back to you with the quickness there. Because, that goes right to my phone. So I could be like, out at work, and it'll be like, hey, you're a racist prick. I'll be like, thank you very much. What about them gay dinosaurs?
Okay.
So anyway, we hope to see you on the next episode. We hope you enjoyed. We'd love to hear from you. By the way, I wanted to give a shout out to a couple of the people that subscribe to us. Milesy, I think that's how you pronounce it, Miles. He's got a channel. I'll put the link in the description. Really cool guy, does some really great reviews, takes it back old school, and does stuff just as it comes out. So definitely check him out. Also check out the Film Don from LA. because he also does great reviews, has a bunch of stuff out there, hits it old school, brings it, you know, up to what's coming out right now. And I'm trying to think. There's Culture Vulture. She's from London. I checked out her channel. She's got her shit
On par.
She's on point, yo. That girl got her shit. She got it together.
Thank you so much for subscribing.
Yes,
guys.
so thank you guys for subscribing. Check out those channels. I will put the links below. And yeah, we'll look forward to seeing you on the next one. All right, so peace.
See you guys.